How are you today? Good. There's a chair up here. It'll take a minute.
I can stand up a little bit.
Hey, either way, man,
All the time.
I haven't come in contact with anybody, and I just want to
this
make
is
you aware.
department policy for
Oh,
us.
no.
They told us we have to have it on.
I get it,
They
but
said if you're off duty and stuff like that, you do what you want. But
you gotta understand. I just got a false arrest, and this isn't my first, which has led me to pursue this in this fashion.
okay.
Um,
Got somebody coming in right there.
yeah, that's my sister. She's fine.
You got her mask too.
Yeah, we gotta stay cautious. I was quarantined in that RV and had only been conducting myself in a very meticulous manner to ensure my safety and security. Coming so close to law enforcement, who comes across many individuals daily, I would
Yeah.
consider you guys as hyper transmitters, and
Yeah.
you see how that
That's
can
why
work.
they tell us that. We come across people,
So,
we don't know who they are.
There's a lot going on here, sir. I'm going to hand these to you. These are all the statutes surrounding
Okay.
what I'm reporting. And I've prepared this in such a manner that it's ready to be introduced in the court.
Okay.
So the way that I'm conveying it, it's a sworn statement, obviously,
Okay.
and I'm going to be injecting this into my criminal case with the retaliatory charge. And if you do need this information, what would you do with it, and how would you handle it if you were to take this from me as evidence?
I would let you keep that
Okay.
or whatever, because if it comes into my hands, then I'm liable if it gets lost, and then you've lost all your
I
material.
made copies
You
already. I
understand?
just
Yeah.
screenshot
Yeah,
it
that's
so I
right.
can.
I would just,
Okay.
I would keep them for yourself, okay?
All right. Let me know when you're ready. I have, like I said, a handful of criminal reports surrounding the different crimes that had been committed.
Okay, all right.
So
let me back up a little bit. Your camper was here.
it was parked in this lot at the end of this alley over here. Come to find out, it's not public property, or not the vast majority of it, not the shoulder. It had been undeveloped for a very long time.
So that's at the end of this road?
Yeah, it curves around to the right, and it's immediately following the end of the guardrail to the white pump house. That whole lot, as you see now, that will be developed.
Not where the ball field is? You
No.
come and go going down to the end of this, all this?
Yeah, it curves around to the right, and
Okay.
the lot is seriously right after the curve. You'll see what they're developing there.
Okay.
And after my RV was taken, they began to develop that with haste, just
Okay.
rapid development. And they know that there's a problem, and I'm trying to call it out as such. South Boston's refused me. The town of Halifax has refused me and retaliated. And I should be protected, and I've studied, and I know what I'm protected by, which is why I'm presenting this in
Okay.
such a manner.
So did they contact you
No,
before towing it? So they don't even
they didn't tag it.
they didn't even know who the owner was. Is that what
No,
you're
they
saying?
thought they did by trying to trace it down to a previous owner, but they didn't make me aware, and they didn't leave it there long enough with any form of notice that would set it would otherwise be deemed removed by state law.
So did you just show up one day and boom, it was gone?
I had parked it at can I please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
On or about April 1st, 2020, I had parked my sole primary dwelling in essential transportation while in quarantine, which was my private vehicle, being operated in a private capacity along the public easement of Riley Avenue and the corner of Vaughn alongside Highway 360 on the edge of a vacant lot.
Uh-huh.
This property was neither posted nor were there any property boundary markers whatsoever. There were no trespassing signs posted. I arrived at approximately 3:30 p.m. on or about April 1st, and it was gone by 3:30 p.m. on or about April 2nd, with no notice or no contact with any alleged property owner while I was tending to my basic needs. Under Virginia Section Code 46.2-1215, a private property owner may not tow a suspected vehicle of being abandoned on their property that has not been there less than 72 hours without notice. My domicile and vehicle had been there approximately less than 24. A witness had notified me the vehicle had been towed sometime around 3 p.m. that day. I then proceeded to make a criminal report of grand theft auto to dispatch and with the local law enforcement. I reported the property owner's address at I reported to the property owner's address. Not so much the owner, the director of that property is Mark Estes of the Service Authority. I had walked across town. He's my former baseball coach. We don't have any bad qualms. He didn't know whose it was. I gave the property owner notice verbally that he deprived my right to reasonable notice to vacate his property and had not allowed 72 hours to expire pursuant to Virginia Code 46.2-1215 and the Due Process Clause of the United States Constitution, and in fact violated my Fourth Amendment rights to security of persons and property. In violation of Virginia Code 18.2-95 and 18.2-102, I requested he return my vehicle to me and I can inspect it for damages. The owner responded by cajoling me and treating me with indignity. At that time, Officer Perkins and Supervisor Edmonds came on scene, and I was informed the owner's wife, Barbara, reported me to police for trespass while the owner and I, Mark, were having a conversation. In no time was it escalated, heated, tensions flaring. It was more so, this is a shocker, let's try to figure it out. And I wanted
at their house.
Yes.
Okay.
I did try to remedy it, so that way we did not proceed in this manner.
Okay.
It is unclear whether Barbara called his wife alone or under the instruction of Mark. The officers informed me of notice to vacate premises, which I did without delay or argument. I left. And Mark did inform me that he engaged in a contract to unlawfully seize my vehicle. Further, Virginia Code 46.2-1202.2 clearly states that a minimum of 48 hours to expire for a vehicle to be considered abandoned. Virginia Code 46.2-1202.1 clearly states that a person in possession of an abandoned motor vehicle shall obtain from the department a vehicle removal certificate, of tow. I requested the owner, Mark Estes, and Officer Perkins and Supervisor Edmonds documentary evidence that shows the lawful removal of my vehicle. Mr. Estes informed me that he first called the police, then Franklin's Towing. Officer Perkins informed me that there was no official record of the seizure of my property, meaning when he responded, he didn't file a report, and he didn't produce the lawful document that would give them the authority to have it removed. So Mr. Estes admitted to me that he violated Virginia Section Code 18.2-29, wherefore Estes solicited Mr. Donnie Ellington of Franklin's Garage and Wrecker Services to unlawfully seize my property. And that's the first criminal report regarding Mark Estes. And so on or about April 2nd, Mr. Don Ellington, owner and operator, director of Franklin's Garage and Wrecker Service, engaged in an unlawful contract to violate Virginia Section Code 18.2-102 in concert with Mr. Mark Estes at Halifax County Service Authority, whom is the executive director. On that day, Mr. Ellington seized unlawfully my sole primary dwelling, sole essential transportation, and all of my basic needs, which was my vehicle that I was living in, which was a 1976 Dodge Sportsman, without having requested a vehicle removal certificate from Mr. Estes, becoming in violation of Virginia Section Code 46.2-1202.1, and without having established from Mr. Estes that the 48-hour nor the 72-hour marker had been met for the minimum time to begin removing lawfully. They deemed it abandoned and made it subject to removal from private property commencing under Virginia Codes 46.2-1200.2 and 46.2-1215. Mr. Ellington admitted to me he was solicited by Mark Estes as a bad actor. Mr. Ellington's willful blindness and purposeful avoidance of Mr. Estes's evidence of Mr. Estes's lawful authority to seize and remove my property is a violation of Model Penal Code Article 2, Section 2.02 regarding culpable mental status, in that Mr. Ellington did not request Mr. Estes' authority and ignored a clearly posted sign in my vehicle's window that stated it was my sole dwelling, private property, and that it was being used for quarantine. With that being said, both Mr. Estes and Mr. Ellington, in their unlawful taking of my basic needs and property, after having ignored the clearly posted signs in my vehicle window, did violate Model Penal Code Section 211.2 in regards to reckless endangerment. On or about April 2nd, Mr. Donnie Ellington of Franklin's Garage and Wrecker Services, Inc., after having unlawfully seized my sole primary dwelling, which was my vehicle I was living in, did violate Virginia Code Section 18.2-513 and 514. Wherefore, Mr. Ellington held my private property for ransom for a $125 wrecker fee and $25 a day. Mr. Ellington, an accessory before the fact, Mark Estes, I notified Mr. Ellington I was indignant and incapable of paying any ransom, which Mr. Ellington ignored, and persisted in his criminal scheme, which left me in peril and would be shocking to the conscience of any common sense person. On April 7th, I went to Franklin's Garage and Wrecker Service Incorporated to serve legal notice to Mr. Donnie Ellington, the company's director, and whom recovered my vehicle that had been unlawfully detained by Mr. Ellington. I delivered written legal notice to Mr. Ellington informing him that his actions in concert with Mr. Mark Estes was in violation of criminal codes. In addition to Mark Estes, I offered Mr. Ellington reasonable notice and opportunity to retract from the crimes against me by returning my vehicle immediately without condition that was my primary dwelling and domicile. Mr. Ellington read the notice, became irritated, asked me to leave the property. Without returning my property to me and restoring me and my service animal to our home, he then proceeded to retaliate against me. I informed Mr. Ellington that he could be placed under arrest for felony within view, and I instructed him not to go anywhere. What I said was, no more, no less. Here it is. He reviewed it. He said, there's the Highway 58. Get off my property. I said, stay right there. You're under arrest. And I obliged to his request, vacating the premises to the adjacent lot that I believed didn't belong to him. And I proceeded to call the sheriffs to file a criminal report, making them aware that a crime scene is in their jurisdiction. I instructed him not to go anywhere, and I left his property without delay or argument. I proceeded off of Mr. Ellington's property, and I called Halifax County Dispatch to make a criminal report against Mr. Ellington and Mr. Estes, as I observed Mr. Ellington flee the scene, talking on a cell phone, driving a wrecker. Approximately 15 minutes later, 4 sheriff's deputies appeared on scene. Mr. Ellington had returned on scene before the sheriffs arrived. I proceeded to communicate with Deputy Waddell with Halifax County Sheriff's Department to file a criminal report against Mr. Ellington and Mr. Estes for violations of the Penal Code of Virginia and the RICO Act. Deputy Waddell responded to my allegations with willful blindness to my allegations, misprisoned felony information in violation of 18 U.S. and assisted Mr. Ellington in escaping arrest in violation of Virginia Section Code 18.2-469. And this is 2 more left. This is a conspiracy to retaliate against victim, witness, or informant. That's me. On or about April 7th, following legal notice to Mr. Donnie Ellington that he was in violation of criminal codes, an attempt to file a criminal report with Halifax County Deputy Sheriff Waddell, Mr. Ellington and Mr. Waddell and 3 unknown sheriff's deputies. I know T.C. Glass was one of them. The other 2 gentlemen who responded, I'm unsure of. They acted in concert in violation of 18 U.S. Code 241 and retaliated against me, where I'm a victim, witness, and informant of crime, in violation of 18 U.S. Code Section 1513, where Officer Waddell abused his office and discretion to commit the retaliation against me in violation of 18 U.S. Code Section 242. Wherefore, Mr. Ellington's suspected to have solicited Deputy Waddell to rescue Mr. Ellington and assist Mr. Ellington in shielding himself from prosecution from other crimes against me, which I reported to Mr. Waddell, and wherefore Mr. Ellington is suspected to have solicited Mr. Waddell to retaliate against me under color of law. Wherefore Mr. Waddell did so retaliate against me by denial of my rights as a victim, witness, or informant of a crime in violation of Virginia Code 19.2-1101 and U.S. Code 18 U.S. Code Section 3771. Wherefore Officer Waddell failed to provide me reasonable protection from Mr. Ellington, deprived me of my right to be heard, deprived me of my right to full and timely restitution, and ignoring my constitutional right that has been upheld by the Supreme Court to make arrest without warrant for felony within view, pursuant to Kurtz v. Moffitt, 115 U.S. 487 and 504, and Waddell having made false statements in record to initiate a malicious prosecution against me via statutory system of subversion, warrant for felony within view. Wherefore, agents for the blue line of silence may retaliate against a private citizen making a citizen's arrest of another agent of or for the blue line of silence or another criminal agency. Mr. Ellington submitted my legal notice to him, and Mr. Waddell fraudulently used my reasonable notice to Mr. Ellington and my testimony that I had executed a warrantless arrest of Mr. Ellington for Mr. Ellington's felony within view. And Mr. Waddell and his armed mob of 3 other deputies in Halifax County proceeded to commit aggravated assault with firearms in view in violation of Virginia Code 18.2-53.1. Abducted me from my location against my will in violation of Virginia Code Section 18.2-47A and 18.2-47C. This does not grant Mr. Waddell or his accomplices qualified immunity in that retaliation against victim, witness, or informant. It is not a codified duty he is authorized to perform under color of law. Mr. Waddell assaulted my persons and shackled me and falsely imprisoned me in the back of his vehicle, abducting me away to his agency's building, where I was held against my will and initiated today's malicious prosecution against me. And on or about April 2nd, 2020, I, Michael Raposo, attempted to file a report of theft for my vehicle and sole primary dwelling to one Officer Perkins with South Boston Police Department at 1817 Chamberlain Street at approximately 4:30 p.m. When Officer Perkins arrived, I delivered information of felonious crime to him against Mark Estes and Donnie Ellington for auto theft of my sole primary dwelling and deprivation of due process. Ellington, from Mr. Ellington, I requested documentary evidence of Donnie Ellington having seized or towed my vehicle in sole dwelling. Perkins indicated neither Estes nor Ellington provided any evidence of alleged authority to seize or remove my vehicle dwelling to South Boston Police Department. Perkins stated that he had knowledge my vehicle and home had been towed, and also indicated no incident report was made when Estes notified police of his intent to remove the vehicle from unposted private property with no vehicle removal certificate. Perkins then refused to take a criminal report from me in violation of 18 U.S. Code Section 4 and Virginia Code Section 18.2-469. I requested Perkins' supervisor on scene. Perkins refused to contact his supervisor, and I informed Perkins that he was depriving my right of due process and equal protection. Perkins left the scene and willfully failed to perform his administrative duties.
All right. So all that stuff transpired on the 1st and 2nd, correct? I think, is that all the dates over the top of those?
1st, 2nd, and 7th being the day of arrest. So it was all within 1 week.
1st and 2nd, you got arrested on the 7th, is that what you're saying?
Yes, I arrived.
You didn't get arrested on spot. You're saying that they went and got a warrant for you and then came and arrested you?
No, sir. I had proceeded to give Donnie Ellington. I had.
That's when you was there.
He was extorting me for the money, which he has no contract with me in regards to following the law to forcibly put me in a contract.
Okay.
So I notified him of such and presentation to Mr. Ellington, because I told you that day it got removed, I had went to Mark Estes.
Yeah.
And then here I am trying to file reports, trying to get a ride to the magistrates, but I didn't know about the whole felony and a law enforcement needing to be around.
Mm-hmm.
But meanwhile, I've been attempting to file these reports within the jurisdictions that the crime's been committed. It all had happened in a week, and on the 7th, the day of my arrest, I was serving a legal notice to Mr. Ellington, and I informed him in these exact words. He said, "There's the road, there's 58, get off my property." I said, "Okay, stay right there, you're under arrest." Turned around, I got my dog, we walked out the door, vacated, no cussing, no slamming no doors, to call the law to file a criminal report, which they refused me and retaliated against me protecting him.
Okay.
These gentlemen are directors with businesses here in the county. They have county ties. I'm sure that they are very well tied in bed, so to say, with officers of the law. Now, I have canvassed the neighborhood here, asking people around this property in question that I was removed from, "Hey, do you guys ever see anybody get towed?" They've never seen anybody get towed.
From where you got towed.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Mr. Estes went as far as to hastily towing my property while leaving behind two private individuals' trailers for them to come get approximately 24 hours plus later. I've been documenting this. The following day after they removed me with haste, after I notified Mr. Estes of his crimes against me, he probably became wiser and began to place markers up to begin to develop, and he is now developed outside of their boundary. And
So
it makes...
he's like he don't necessarily own it, he's just maybe the custodian.
Director.
Is that what you're saying?
He's the
Okay.
director.
All right.
He's overseeing that. I had requested through the service authority information in regards to the owner so that I can make them formally aware of the crimes that have been committed, to place the owner on notice with my intent to sue in the future in regards to notice of the crimes.
Mm-hmm.
And the service authority wanted to redirect me back to Mr. Essex's voicemail, to which I told them this is a gross conflict of interest. I'm going to be requesting an order of restraint against him and Mr. Ellington in regards to their crimes against me. In addition to the officers, I want to request orders of restraints. But with that being said, I'm not going back to his voicemail to let him know anything further.
Yeah.
He does not get that privilege from me.
But you was trying to inquire about who was the owner of that property at that point. Okay.
At what point?
Well, you said that when you was, they called the service authority.
This is just the other
to
day.
try to find out who the owner of the property was.
Well, I knew
and you
because
said they wouldn't
the
tell
police
you.
told me.
Oh, okay.
The first day the police told me, and I was like, "That's not public property." They said, "No, it's private. You were illegally parked." That's what
Okay.
dispatch told me. I said, "Wait a minute. I've never heard of anybody getting towed on the grounds of being illegally parked on the lot for people to have tags, proper stickers." I'm very familiar with tow laws because I've been around major cities, and I'm familiar with such because just like anybody driving down the road, there's a sign, I have to follow the law. There's a sign, I have to follow the law. I presented evidence to all parties, and they didn't care. They were willfully blind. They didn't want to hear what I had to say. This is also discriminatory against me being a poor and nomadic class of citizen. And with me being protected by the Crimes Victims' Rights Act, I'm very concerned with the retaliatory charge that I received, with no officials processing these criminal reports in the proper manner with the proper channel. I feel like they're going to try to serve me a malicious prosecution, and justice isn't going to be served. I can respectfully admit, if I had committed a crime, I would be willing to take the loss of my property in regards to the removal and disappearance and inability to afford to buy back per the contract that I would be forced to undergo.
Now, have you, to this date, you haven't gotten your RV back, correct?
No, sir.
Okay.
I'm being extorted.
You didn't want to pay
No, sir.
the
It's not.
price because
of the crimes.
Of the means that
exactly.
it was taken from you. Okay,
I am not entitled to engage in any contract. I'm not required to, and it's not a legal binding contract given the nature of the removal of my property. It's unenforceable. So he is committing racketeering crimes, specifically as an owner-operator, to extort money from me, in addition to retaliating against me to conspire to cover up his crimes. And these are all the I think I handed you that.
Yeah.
That's.
Well, let me ask you this.
You can hold that.
Did you have you since went for your arraignment yet?
I had went for my first appearance.
Okay.
I went for my first appearance,
and
I was
lawyer and stuff?
I was well prepared. I requested an immediate motion for summary judgment. I wanted to be judged today.
Okay.
And I had all the evidence to submit to the judge that proves the crimes have been committed, and this is a retaliatory crime in nature. Yeah. He denied me a motion, okay? And I also wanted to submit him unsworn declaration and these criminal complaints and reports to be introduced in my case. He refused me that as well.
Well, probably because that wasn't your actual trial date. When they do their arraignments and stuff, they put them in like maybe 5 or 10 minute windows, and then when they say, okay, this case is going to trial, they allot, okay, it's going to be an hour long.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm very familiar. So that's probably
why he, says, hey, we can't do this now.
He denied me because of the time frame, given the nature of the virus and a pandemic. He scheduled my court date out over 60 days, and this is not a right to a speedy, fair trial. So if the judge has committed a crime, I'm going to be naming the judge for a crime and contacting the judicial.
They pushed all my court dates out, July and August and stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff that I have.
I've been striving to get these filed. I've introduced the information to the magistrates. They didn't take it, given the nature of the crimes, and I was a little put off, given the nature of law enforcement obstructing justice, refusing to take these criminal reports. So, with that being said, I didn't know right away that I should have contacted the state police, or I would have done that immediately following my arrest and being released. I would have done that the 8th, the following day.
Have you since, have you talked to an attorney by any?
I'm representing myself. I'm preparing this case as if I'm going to be prosecuting it myself. I know that we are not entitled to private prosecution under law right now currently. However, I am entitled to investigate this crime as a private attorney general. And I'm not gonna lead you around. I've been maliciously prosecuted several times, okay? They have not led to convictions. They have been dismissed. I've been deprived of my rights, my time, etc.
Okay.
So if you can imagine a homeless man almost, who is now studying law to become wiser, I'm going to do a better job than these attorneys who continue to not fix problems that perpetuate so that these problems still present themselves in the system. If they helped fix the problems, they put themselves out of work, if you understand where I'm going with that. So, no, I'm not contacting an attorney or a lawyer. I'm doing this myself, and I have every right to.
Well, I was just asking, because normally at your arraignment, they ask you, do you want to represent yourself?
And
do you want to hire your own, or do you want court appointed?
I told them.
I was asking what, just what's your course of action.
I'm going to tell you what I told the judge. I'll tell you that I will go ahead and apply and request a court appointed. However, I do not need one. I have previously fired the last one that I hired because he failed to do his duties as an official of the Bar Association being assigned to my case. So in regards to that, man, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to work for myself better than anybody ever could. And
that's what I was saying, because if you're studying it yourself, and like me, myself, if I was in your position, I wouldn't know, where to turn. Obviously I would turn to an attorney. I'm saying myself now, I'm not giving you any type of legal advice, but me not knowing anything along that, if I felt that somebody infringed upon my, constitutional rights, I would go to an attorney and say, hey, what have I got? What do I need to do?
I've done that before. Nobody pursues criminal charges against officers of the law.
Well, not criminal, but you see people where they bring lawsuits and stuff out against, departments. Like, let's say, for instance, that tasing incident when that gentleman, obviously, somebody could say, well, hey, that's that's an assault, because if you go out here and punch somebody or you tase somebody, with your own personal taser, obviously that's assault.
Yes.
So some people could view, okay, well, that officer, he tased that gentleman, he assaulted him. I want to go get an assault charge against him. You see what I'm saying? I don't know how that would go. So that man's family came and took out like a civil lawsuit, to where they was awarded money.
Yeah.
In
regards to any claims, this
anything
will be sorted out in a criminal court for damages.
And
at
that's
the
what
same
I said.
time,
I don't know how that would,
I've had
not even
magistrates
go
tell me to
about
go to
that.
civil, and they're wrong to send felony criminal reports down.
I mean, they can deny it. I can go down there and say, hey, he's reported this stuff to me, but those things obviously happen in your presence, as you will know, seen it. But the magistrate still could say, I mean, I go to the magistrate before and say, hey, this happened, and I got somebody down there, and they're like, well, I don't think it's enough for that.
And I'm in contact.
You still not get it. So you see what I'm saying?
I'm in contact with Chief Magistrate Salerno right now. So if
I know
anybody's,
you're talking about. I've had to go, over magistrate's heads before to call and contact him about warrants that I didn't get, that got denied, that I felt like, hey, I feel like I had enough, but at the end of the day, I can't issue a warrant.
Of course.
The magistrate, if they deny me, and we go into a magistrate and they deny it as well, it's nothing I can do along those points. So let's say if we do get to a point and they say, and we go down to the magistrate, still could say, hey, I'm still not giving you anything. At that point, what would be your next course? You see what I'm saying?
go straight to the attorney.
Okay.
Now, it wouldn't be Tracy Quackenbush because her husband's a sheriff, and I'm filing reports against sheriffs.
Well, she's not. He's retired now. I don't know if you knew that. He retired.
He did retire,
Mhm.
so it wouldn't be a conflict of interest currently.
He
Okay.
retired.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a captain there. He retired. Been over at least a year ago.
There still may be a conflict because she may
Yeah.
know of. And
Well, I mean, her being in this area, this jurisdiction, constantly, be kind of its officer from here, the sheriff's office, the state police from Halifax, town of Halifax, or town of South Boston, or town of Halifax. Let's say if they're off duty in their personal capacity and they get a DUI, more than likely, actually, I'm probably 100% sure, the Commonwealth Attorney's Office in Halifax, they're probably not going to pursue it. You see what I'm saying? Not pursue the charge. They wouldn't prosecute it. They would, get a special prosecutor to come from another county or something.
Gotcha.
That's normally how things happen. If it's something like that, or if it's an employee of the sheriff's department, if something
I
like it
assume
happens.
that could be the case in this matter in regards. But if warrants are not issued and there has been criminal activity and evidence that suggests thereof,
that would be something that you'd have to go against with the magistrate's office.
Well, I would be.
And I don't even know who that would be, because if they deny,
if I'm denied,
if you get denied
by you for taking this report, then I do present this directly to the attorney, and I am like Perkins, Edmonds, Waddell, TC Glass, the other two.
Well, I'm saying you might have to go civil. I understand you're saying
it's not go civil, sir. I have articulated clear crimes and felonies have been committed. Okay, if willful blind eyes are turned to this knowledge, it's a conspiracy to cover up these crimes, protecting those in office.
Okay. So I don't even know all those people you're talking about. Like I haven't talked to any of them. Obviously I hear your side.
And I'm recorded making calls into dispatch. There was even one more time I attempted to file another report with a supervisor within the town of South Boston. He's never followed up. And I told him, I said, these guys refused to put me through a supervisor, refused to furnish documentation regarding the removal. There's no certificate of tow. Yeah. Therefore, the law right there alone has been violated by 3 parties.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying. Considering all those things happen with the outside agency, of course, I got to figure out exactly. I know you've told me everything. It seems like you have everything extremely well documented.
Very well.
I got to figure out
it.
How this all came about. I got to go back and talk to this person and say, okay, well, what happened? What happened? Was there any type of document of tow? If they call us sometimes and say, hey, it's a car left on the side of the road, we're going to go there and try to run the VIN, try to get the plates. I'm going to try to notify the owner so that I can get them to come get the car to save from a tow or something like that. You know, so I don't know if you said they didn't do that. They didn't come notify you, hey, it's sitting down here to even give you
tag it. They left somebody else the opportunity another 24 hours to get their property from that lot during the same time period.
Okay.
But they decided, well, it's not tagged, we're towing it. And you don't have to have tags to be on private property.
Okay.
And I didn't park it over there specifically encroaching on a form of property. No, I thought I was pulling off public property onto the shoulder off the road, because I know that you got to have tags to be on a city street. I'm trying to follow the law.
Yeah.
Now,
it just depends on towns, cities.
Of course.
You know, city of Danville, their city ordinance might be different than town of South Boston. Honestly, I don't know anything about town of South Boston as of yet, because obviously town of South Boston, you know, they work their own crashes and stuff like that.
Yes,
we
sir.
don't work crashes in town of South Boston.
You do
unless
highways.
maybe if it's a, I don't even know if we work on if a town of South Boston police car is involved in it. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
I've never had to work one there in my not even 2 years with the state yet. So
I want you to keep these though.
okay.
I wrote those separately. Those are
Okay.
titled along with the codes surrounding the case that I've prepared in regards to the crimes committed against me.
Okay.
So when this does get presented to court, every one of those codes should be listed in regards to surrounding these crimes.
Okay.
The racketeering, everything. I know that from what has happened that this is not lawful, and I am not with the means right now being deprived of all of my basic needs to pursue in court civilly, to wait on a docket for several months. There goes my roof, 80 pounds of my dog's food. When they arrested me and retaliated, they took my cell phones as evidence. I recorded on one that wasn't active, and they took my line that was active out of my pocket, claiming that they're taking it to get a warrant for evidence.
Like a search warrant or something?
Yeah.
On it? Okay. Yeah. Like
In regards to recording the instance where I approached Mr. Ellington, giving him the notice per his request to pursue law enforcement to file a criminal report. That is a crime scene over there at Franklin's garage. Those officers were willfully blind and completely deprived me of my rights to justice. And that's why I'm naming these officers for their crimes against me. If they didn't get involved, and seemingly this wasn't a conspiracy to deprive me and extort me right now, then I wouldn't be labeling it as such. But because I now know better and know where I come from in the past, with being persecuted by officials of the law, being placed in compromising situations where they're committing subversive behavior to obstruct justice, here I am, now formally prepared, knowing more than I had ever before, so that way we can check the system and balance it out as we find it tips unfavorably in certain areas.
Yep.
And I appreciate you, Mr. Clark, for coming and responding and being unbiased, because I told you, and when we were on the phone, I said, if you seemingly have a conflict to take any of these criminal reports against these officers, don't come. You know, because I feel like at that point, you're going to get involved in something you may not want to be. And at this point,
Let me tell her.
Go for
check
it.
in with us. I'm 10-4. Go ahead. They have like a timer that they have to reset. Like, I don't know, it might be every 30 minutes or something like that. Once we arrive on scene. All right, I haven't got any of your information. I'll get your information and your phone number and all that
Yes, sir.
stuff down. What's your name now?
my name is Michael Raposo.
Chael.
Yes, sir.
Hey, what's your middle name or middle initial?
T
All right, and R.
APOSO.
And your date of birth?
9/22/85.
2285. And contact number.
Um,
The number you got? I called?
yes, it's the number.
All right,
you
it's in the
called.
car. I don't have it wrote down. I mean, it's on the computer screen in the car.
Can you get
from where
that
they-
back out?
Yeah, I can
Because
get it.
I got to fish it out of my phone again.
No, I
just-
can get it when I go back
Okay.
to the car when I get done.
All right.
So, let's see.
In regards to this investigation, sir, those notes with the codes I handed you, I do expect you to investigate the crime surrounding the codes that I'm claiming in violations of. I want restitution and restoration. It's not about the money, it's about principle, because as I stated, and as these parties will tell you, I did give them the option to retract from the crimes against me.
Okay.
And when we do go to court, there's not going to be any inkling that would want to have me settle at this point in time, especially during a unlawful malicious arrest.
So you said your next court date is when now?
July 28th. They have me in the system in case you want to look up the.
I can. You don't know your. Do you have a driver's license or ID or something? I can run you.
I'm ineligible for licensing because I was calling the DMV out on coercing me to commit fraud. They closed my consumer account. I have nothing that would say that I have no right to drive.
But were you born in Virginia though?
No, Maryland.
Right, so I'd have to run your name and date of birth through.
This is how they processed me. They butchered my name. So when I did go to appear in court, they told me I wasn't supposed to be there that day.
Yes, it's R-A-P.
They butchered the first and the... You
Okay.
spelled it right.
R-A-P-O-S-O.
Okay. Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L. But what they did to me here, I'm assuming can only make me disappear into a system very quickly. And I want to be logging that as evidence too. I've had clerical errors before, but nothing that would ever cause any official with an administrative duty to record my information to abbreviate my name, to shorten it, to give me a nickname such as Mike. I didn't address myself as a Mike.
Oh, it does say Mike. I didn't pay attention to that.
That's a big deal to me, sir, and that's why I'm claiming the information as such. These are serious crimes, and me being a victim, knowing that I have yet to file a report until today, it made me very unsettling to freely walk around here and feel comfortable about doing so.
Okay. Is this just 808-465-0843? That's the old number?
That's the number they took from me.
Okay.
That is in evidence, and in evidence there is a video on my phone of me telling you exactly what had occurred with Mr. Ellington at the garage in regards to delivering the notice, making the statement, and then vacating the premises per request.
Okay.
I did not forcibly place him under arrest. I did not put hands on him. I didn't try to jump the counter. I did not claim to be an official of the law because I don't want to impersonate. I don't want to commit a crime in regards to that matter. So telling him he's under arrest is more so insinuating, well, it's about to happen. Stay tight. And I was arrested in regards to which I told you I wanted to file a motion for summary judgment, which would have me immediately judged because I wanted to be relieved from said crime. I was prepared to not be relieved, to have the judge push me into the system, only to go into jail to call 911 to request an agent from our local FBI field office to come take a report.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at right now.
Now,
I have attempted to call the FBI and make criminal reports, to which these agents in our local field office wanted to tell me I need to go to civil court. And I was clearly trying to articulate it to them, but these people didn't want to take the time to listen. They didn't want to listen to me rattle off the codes, tell the story surrounding it, which would have it taken from me in regards to a felony of larceny to have been committed in theft.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Now I know they said that you'd also have you went and tried to talk to the chief of police in South Boston by any chance? I know you said a supervisor came, but that supervisor.
I was about to create a report with internal affairs, but I would be limiting the investigation to that jurisdiction when my property solely moved outside that jurisdiction. And at this point, with the crimes committed against me by law enforcement officials of both agencies.
Over the chief is town council. I know, people go to.
I get it. I'll address them in time.
Yeah.
Town and county. I want to make sure that these people are well aware of what's happened to me. I'm not going to lie to you. I was considering running for mayor of this town. Unorthodox as a homeless man to run for mayor pretty much. But, it's principle that I wanted to produce change here. I did want and like the idea of having oversight of the police to ensure that they do respect the public's rights and the public also respecting officers of the law. With my false arrest, I used to have some animosity towards officers of the law. Now, the only animosity I would have towards anybody that is willfully blind and committing crimes against me.
Right.
I'll call it out as such. In regards to that, anybody else, I will give them the full respect that they give me, that I feel I deserve.
Okay.
But that's the order of operations I went through, so to say. The magistrates referred me to you, and after I spoke with Salerno, he told me that for misdemeanors, if I wanted to go ahead and offer the information to him, he could proceed with those. But where I'm at right now, I want to wrap it all together. That's in my best interest, because my criminal defense, I have a feeling I'm going to, if I can, I'd have to look this up, adjoin cases. Potentially these two cases. So that way I can be heard and judged on the same fact of having gone and serving him the notice saying you're under arrest, I'm walking off your property, dude. Mm-hmm. So that can be done within the same court.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's a criminal matter in that jurisdiction, as was I, we're both going to the same courthouse. Mm-hmm. And in regards to the officers, I'm almost certain that this is a federal matter, and it will be investigated accordingly once the information is presented. These officers that didn't take the report, didn't follow the law with the tow certificate, the day before Officer Perkins, I was parked over at Food Line for a little bit, and I was told to vacate. Officer Perkins was very threatening to me, and he was encouraged to perform an arrest on me for disorderly conduct. I was recording the instance, and I wasn't yelling, I wasn't being disorderly, I was animate, because I was being ganged up on by officials threatening my rights. Mm-hmm. Officer McGregor suggested to Officer Perkins that he arrest me. Officer Perkins did, and I have it on film, say, "You're under arrest," just as I did now.
Yeah.
So if I'm to be tried for the same crime of impersonating and assuming duties, then Officer Perkins should also be tried for the same crime of placing me under arrest unlawfully. Even though he didn't cuff me, he said the same thing that I said to another individual, which could constitute as performing a lawful action, a lawful duty, and those instances are not that far apart. However, I wasn't threatening to suppress somebody's free speech by saying you're under arrest, mm-hmm. nor was I actually going to physically, forcibly put somebody under arrest. So this is very serious. That's why I prepared those codes separately, just in case you didn't take the whole packet. Okay. They are listed with titles in regards to the crimes committed around this, so that way when this is investigated thoroughly by you, you can get a better idea and put these parties together in order where they need to be, and you can match the crimes to the times.
Okay.
That's why I provided it as such for you. I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job.
I understand.
I would do your job if I could.
Okay.
I'm not going to be law enforcement, but if I had the ability to privately prosecute, I'd be rolling the papers right now, getting the warrants. If I could privately request those, I would, because I would have everything here to procure those. And I'm not cool with the subversion, man. Okay. I'm really not.
Now, when you said the basis that you were down there for in quarantine, was you just self-quarantining?
Per request.
But you hadn't never been...
Exactly.
You hadn't been exposed to anybody?
No, sir.
Okay.
No.
You were just down there?
Stay-at-home order.
Yeah, okay.
That was my home. I was staying at home. I was under quarantine, staying at home.
So is this a friend's home?
This is my sister's.
Okay.
And I was doing laundry. So
okay.
I had came with my laundry. I had been going back and forth a couple times within that 24 hours to get dog food, to get my laundry, to get my laptop, and no notice was posted. And I spoke with Mark Estes. He admitted to also going back to that RV twice that day. Mm-hmm. So he had approached it twice, and he didn't bother to tag it with a notice or anything. With that being said, he did admit to seeing my sign in the window. He only read the words "no trespassing" that he claimed to me. but it did say private property, private residence, no trespassing, under quarantine. Not because I'm sick or came in contact with anybody, but I'm respectfully abiding by the request for the stay-at-home order or whatever it is, man.
Yeah.
But putting me in this situation, removing it as such, having me call up all these officers, being taken down to the police station and booked, this is reckless endangerment in regards to the situation at hand, risking my safety because I have been only isolated, conducting myself in a very meticulous manner to ensure my health. So whisking me away, having all these officers handle me, going in back of a cop car that probably seen a few guys that hadn't been sterilized. That's not my cat, bro.
Oh, it's not? I thought it was yours.
He wants to love everybody.
Yeah. Did they give you the number to the state police office?
Who?
To call whoever. I know you said you want to talk to Sergeant.
I requested.
So we don't have a secretary or anything that's in there right now. He's doing everything.
So this process, I called Salerno. Like I said, got off the phone.
You want to write down the number to the office, though? I know. I'm assuming you still want the first sergeant, who's obviously.
You know what, man?
On up there.
I don't have to have the first sergeant as long as you do your lawful duty.
Okay. Well, I'm just talking about for the office and stuff. Because let's say if you call to say, hey, I'm trying to figure, get an update, try to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Obviously, they'd be in charge of that. You see what I'm saying?
If I'm sorry about him, dude.
Thought it was yours.
No, you're lucky my dog's not out here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you care, you can write the number on here. So after I took care of my basic needs, following up with Salerno, I had called at approximately 4:14 p.m. today, and I requested a supervisor, to which they pretty much had to put his boots on, and I can expect a call from him in regards to requesting an address to respond.
Okay.
2 hours later, I have to call back in and request an update, and they tell me that he would rather meet with me on a 9 to 5 business day.
Okay.
So in regards,
they just told me to call you. I didn't.
Yeah, in regards to wanting to file these felony reports, having already waited this long, I am now 2 weeks outside of the date in which it was stolen from me.
Okay.
So it's very urgent for me. I mean, it being a 2-week marker right now today, send somebody to take the report. Yeah. This is my last office to introduce this to. Psst, 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 get out of here. Go. So the next step, if the job is not done at your level, I will be introducing this information to the attorney.
Okay.
And
Attorney General's office. Is that what you're saying? What do you mean by attorney?
State, if not the U.S., and then from there.
You said you thought this was like a federal matter.
Well, with the officers committing crimes against me, retaliating against a crime victim and witness.
You know, I said I have to fight because I'm being.
This is going to be a federal matter in regards to one side of this equation. I assure you that.
Let me talk to the other parties and stuff to kind of figure out everything, get caught up.
I do have evidence also of Officer Perkins responding the day that I wanted to file the criminal report. I said I want an incident report number. I want information regarding the removal of my property. Oh, there ain't an incident report number. So I knew right then and there, based off of his demeanor and what he said, that he was the one who responded over here. Now, Mark didn't know it was mine. I'm sure Mark, being the guy that he is, if he had been told by Officer Perkins that Officer Perkins knows of a gentleman that is residing in that, I think Mark would have said, well, let's put a note on it and then get it gone in time.
And as I said, I don't know what information the officer could have gave him. The officer could have said...
With his behavior, I'm under the impression that Officer Perkins conspired to withhold information in regards.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't know what he told him at this point. I hadn't talked to him to say, hey, what'd you tell him? He might have said, hey, I told him that it was a guy's home and he was living in it. Or he could say, hey, I just told him it was...
When I approached Mark Estes,
you see what I'm saying?
And I said, hey, that was my RV that was removed, he was like, whoa, shocked. And I said, I was living out of that. That's my home, dude.
Yeah.
And, when you start investigating, the certificate of tow is a big deal. The state statutes that claim 48 and 72 hours to deem a property abandoned on private property, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That shows cause that a crime's been committed at a felony level. So without those elements, got nothing.
Yeah.
So knowing that I do meet the criteria for a crime to have been committed, that's why I'm doing this right now.
Okay.
I will have more likelihood of getting my property restored to me in a more timely manner, pursuing this as such, versus playing papers in civil court,
Yeah.
hoping for something and not actually seeking the justice that I'm seeking. Because if I had already given them an option to retract, I probably wouldn't have the right to say this much right now.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody would come along and be like, hey, did you tell them or ask them to give it back? Well, I did, and I was pretty much mocked and extorted or attempted to be extorted in regards, and that's where the racketeering comes in with Mr. Franklin, knowing that he committed a felony, and he is the sentencing issues here in a minute. And like I said, these gentlemen are directors with major businesses that revolve around this county.
Yeah.
And with these officers conspiring to deprive me of my rights, covering up, obstructing justice, these crimes, misprision of felonies, those are serious charges. And then retaliating against me as a victim and witness. When I told these officers, I'm not trying to be cocky, I tried to tell them what was what. They refused to listen to me like you, having some premeditated idea that I'm a problem. Because when Deputy Waddell arrested me, took me to jail, and the magistrate was releasing me on my own recognizance, Deputy Waddell went as far as to requesting the magistrate keep me because I am a nuisance. All because I tried to be persistent in filing these criminal reports in regards. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So when I have somebody...
I understand that you're upset over everything that's happened.
Not too upset now, man.
Yeah.
Believe me, with where I'm coming from, with false arrests, for me to endure one the other day in this manner, now being smarter and wiser in regards, I didn't experience any stress up here, dude. My dog got taken a third time, and I have yet to be back on the road traveling. I'm kind of like a nomad, dude. I love helping others and doing what, going back out there with my dog as the lone wolf that I am, for fear that something would happen similar that would cause us to be separated and me never be able to get him back. When he was taken from me the other day, I specifically asked an officer to let me make a call so somebody can come pick up my dog. They refused me, just like the others have in the past, claiming that because we already called animal control, you don't get that chance.
Yeah.
And that's a slap in the face. I'm a great father to my dog, and he's like a child, like a brother. He's the equivalent to how you guys care about your canines and put them to work. He is my work dog.
Your dog as if you would treat a person as if you would want them to return.
He's my
and treat
service
you back.
animal, and we've been in court before.
Okay.
So it's a serious matter. And the retaliatory acts by law enforcement, the refusal to do their duties is a serious matter. So that's why I said, please keep the list of codes, because it is a federal matter. The information needs to be...
I have to look up because I'm not,
I get it.
Obviously it's impossible to know everything in that book off the top of your head.
I know. I don't either, man.
We go through it kind of swiftly and stuff. We're in the academy and all like that, but if it's not something that you use every single day on a daily basis, you don't use it, you lose it. So
well, then again,
some
you
of the
guys...
stuff honestly, most of it I've never even used before.
I would like to see you guys study law like I've kind of been beginning to study, because putting me in these positions, I know that myself, I've endured these. I know that others are enduring these.
That's right.
And because you guys are charging, allegedly, not definitively proving something that had happened, you're getting people wrapped up in the system like me, man, maliciously. And I want that to change. So, like I said, I've presented this as such, and if you want this evidence that I have copies, and I'll give it to you, and it's laid out to be taken and introduced to a judge to articulate it, to prove that these crimes have been committed. And where these parties stand, they got no wiggle room out of the field. And now that they've chose to do that, and things have occurred with law enforcement, I had to get somebody to take my report.
Yeah.
And, calling the FBI, trying to get involved with what I've reported to you, they didn't give me the opportunity, dude.
Yeah.
And I am naming officers. This is going to be a federal matter.
Yeah.
It's a federal claim. Those are United States codes in addition to state statutes. So those are federal crimes.
Yeah.
That's why I encourage you to take the list, because if you didn't take the actual report, you have all the information sworn by me that has occurred and the way and manner in which it has occurred. So I've done my duty to do what I needed to file these reports, and I stand with you because you are the last chain of law enforcement who can take this to lead towards a warrant for arrest.
Yeah.
That's...
Well, I'm gonna take this. I got, I can go back and talk to them and get the CAD calls and stuff, just like,
of course,
dispatch, from them and all, from local dispatch and all as well. And I'll start going through the chains to figure out exactly, going back to see where it's going and stuff like that.
This is going to be your investigation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I don't seem to have a problem with that, sir.
Get stuff out of my pocket with these gloves on.
Don't forget about cross-contamination with the gloves. It's
policy is what it is. So.
Yeah, I get it.
All right. Well, I'll that you got that number. That's the number to the office and stuff. You call the answer. You can leave a message.
Is there a call log incident report number for today? Is there something?
I can go get it real quick. I know it's DIV 320. Let me get it real quick.
Yeah, I tell you what. I'll walk over there so you can just roll out if you're ready.
Right, I can give it to you, and you can just write it down if you want.
All right. So bang, bada boom.
You got a pen?
Yeah, I'm ready.
It's DIV, which is short for division.
Okay.
3200 23488.
Okay, once again, 3.
Yep.
Dodge, Indigo, Victor.
Yep.
3200.
Yep.
23488.
Yep, that's right. I had to look to make sure it was 207.
Mr. Clark, thank you.
All right.
Please do your duty.
Okay.
That's all I can ask of you, more than taking the report. I didn't want to wait for supervisor. I'm tired of waiting.
Yeah.
With the rights that I have, I'm exercising as such. And
right.
Can't say that I didn't try
to
get my things back. I wanted to go on my way, and
understand.
With everything that I've endured, it got to a point where I said, you know what? I'm now going to move forward with what they moved forward on me with, and now I have cause to move forward. So
that's right.
Thank you for your time, sir.
All right, yeah.
You have a good day.
All right.
Okay, guys. So I have finally filed a criminal report with a law enforcement agency. I'm sure you guys got all that. I have nothing more to say. With that being said, all the information is there. You guys know everything, and so do they. So now let's see if we get the ball rolling.